Welcome back, you pugnacious pummelers. I'm Lupinefiasco, this is Daily FaB Gameplay, and today we are playing Jarl Vetreidi. For anyone who's new to the channel, what we do here is review replays of games I played on the Talishar.net client days or weeks ago. After enough time has passed, that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my games. I will talk through turn cycles as if I were taking them now, explaining my thought processes for the lines I would take and comparing them to the lines I did take. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events and walk away with that shiny cardboard. If you would like to check out the deck I'm playing here or try it for yourself on Talishar, there is a FaB deck link in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. I have a Blue Sky, I have a Discord, and I have a Patreon where you can find the matchup guide for this deck list. Now, without further ado, let's jump right into the action. Today's game sees the return of Nico Brew. We played against their Vynnset a few months ago with Aurora, and now we are running the gamut with Jarl. If you're interested in seeing more of this gameplay, there is a larger set of games available on my Patreon. That link is in the video description below. We're still playing with Vero's Count Your Blessings Jarl list. This is supposed to be a very easy matchup for Jarl, and yet I found a way to lose it. So pay close attention this game to see how we could have turned that loss into a win. We won the die roll, we are going first. This opening hand lends itself very well to just discarding fruits to gain 2 and then arsenaling Frostfang. Not the most exciting thing we could be doing. We could even pitch Flourish into Gauntlets of Boreal Domain if we wanted to cycle cards a bit, and that is what I'm doing here as well. But we really don't want to attack. I've made this mistake into Runeblade a number of times, but when you attack, you open the door for Reduce to Rune Chant. You also open the door against Vynnset for her to take some damage and then Funeral Moon you. Vynnset has a strong start with Read the Runes. We get to fuse Oakenold, which is a strong start of our own. Unfortunately, we are taking a 3-card intellect penalty here, as we don't have a way to use the So Tomorrow or Channeling Frigid. Not bad, right? We are double fusing Oakenold. We are going to get 2 cards out of Vinny's hand and 6 damage, which puts us pretty far ahead. Potentially on Vynnset's turn, she might take a point of damage as well. That is what's going to happen. She will pass the turn. Unfortunately, we draw into a real clunker here. We have 2 Command and Conquers and a Frostfang in the arsenal, so we just don't have a way to use these cards very well, and we can't put down Channeling Frigid because we don't have an ice card to bottom to its flow cost. We could play So Tomorrow, and that puts Oakenold back into the deck, but ultimately doesn't draw us a card. That is probably what we're supposed to do. Play So Tomorrow, pitch Command and Conquer, put Oakenold back into the deck, pitch Channeling Frigid, play Command and Conquer. We could play Frostfang instead, which Vynnset needs to give us a card to defend against, as she can't just Crown of Providence, right? She can crown the arsenal away from Command and Conquer, but she cannot crown the Frostfang. She will need to block with something, and if she blocks with Crown, Grasp, Creepers, then she opens up that equipment slot. I don't think that this line is bad. We keep a Channeling Frigid in hand. It is a blue. It is a 3-block. It is important to me that we don't have Command and Conquer in hand, which is why I undid my original turn. Vynnset is sitting on 7 Rune Chant, and I really don't want reds in hand as much as I can avoid it, because I am anticipating needing to pitch into Arcane Barrier with my Null Rune Boots. I think sending Command and Conquer is the correct choice, because if Vynnset gives us Crown of Providence, she is opening an armor slot to start taking frostbites from our hero power. It is also just harder to block the Command and Conquer. She cannot reduce to Runechant a Command and Conquer like she could with a Frostfang. Here we see Vynnset choosing to block 7 rather than giving us the Crown of Providence. I think that is the correct call for Vynnset, and we certainly aren't out of the woods just because we're looking at 7 Runechants, with Vynnset having Eloquent Eulogy, now a Phantom Wraith, and that Bounding Demigon in Arsenal, and Tear Through the Portal. Says that Vynnset is going to go again on that first attack. We could block the Phantom Wraith with our Stalagmite, but Vynnset has the Spring Tunic that will let her pay for either Demigon or Eulogy. So using Stalagmite here just says we trade 2 points from Stalagmite for the Tunic. We can't take advantage of Vynnset giving us her Tunic counter, so I don't think it's something that I want to do. What we could do here is just do a ton of blocking, and that probably is what I like most with this hand. We just pitch our 2 blues to prevent 6 arcane damage from 6 of these 8 Runechants, take 2 Runechants, go to 40, and then put Plow Under and E-Strike in front of the Phantom Wraith. Vynnset's follow-up is probably going to be Eulogy, and we just have to deal with Vynnset getting an Eloquence token. We can't stop it. The only way that we could stop the Eulogy is if we put Channel, Frozen to Death, and Plow Under into the Runechants, took 6 from the Phantom Wraith, and then blocked with E-Strike and Gauntlets of Boreal Domain. We can also use our Tunic resource to prevent 1 more of these Runechants, which I think is what I want to do, because if I am just blocking out with my hand, then I have nothing to do with the Tunic, so we might as well start letting it build back up. I wish I would check my graveyard here. I'm pretty sure I cannot Plow Under and Decompose. I don't necessarily want to do that anyway, because Plow Under is just a 2-card 2, and I am not super interested in keeping 2 cards and taking 6 damage to pull that off. Correctly using the Tunic here, I like this play. We will take 1 point of Arcane and then block 6 on the Phantom Wraith. This is potentially very bad if Vynnset Spring Tunics a Creepers into Revel. She could also just have Revel, so maybe we should have had the read on Revel and used the Stalagmite there. It's a really interesting call, because she still does get a turn if she doesn't Revel us. She just attacks with the Eloquent Eulogy and passes the turn and still has the Revel in Arsenal. She doesn't lose anything from having that Revel. Really weird call. The Eloquence token here paying off big time as Vynnset gets to give go again to that Read the Runes. I'm going to see what we can do with this hand. We still have our Frostfang in Arsenal. We now have a Frostfang in hand. Our Tunic will not be available for us to pitch a blue into a Frostfang and then use the Tunic to play Count Your Blessings, but I do want to start playing Count Your Blessings. So what we could think about doing with this hand is pitching the Tear Asunder in order to pay for 1 of these Runechants, then use the floating 2 resources to play Count Your Blessings and gain 2, just start that train going. We can then play Frostfang and pitch Winter's Bite to do so. We could block with Frostfang from hand and prevent 2 damage on the Widespread Ruin. Overall, we would be taking 7 damage from that line and gaining 2 life back. So going to 28 and then presenting Frostfang, which would get at least 1 card from Vynnset, if not 2. We could also pitch our Tear Asunder and our Winter's Bite to prevent all 4 of this Arcane, float a resource, play Count Your Blessings, and block the Widespread Ruin with Frostfang. I think that is my best plan, and we give the Tunic another turn to tick up. Meanwhile, we're just waiting for Vynnset to run out of gas. Not that she is guaranteed to do so, but we've seen 2 Read the Runes already. Vynnset is not starting this turn with a Runechant, so potentially we just catch her without the ability to do anything. This line seems okay. The fact is that we've taken Runechant damage, so Vynnset is going to get the Widespread Ruin effect. we lose a Crumble of Eternity off the top, it isn't the worst thing in the world. I just think there was a better way to handle that turn, considering that we were going to take damage from the Widespread Ruin. The effect goes off. Blocking with the Stalagmite there seems very wrong. And in fact, I would have liked to just stall. We see Vynnset taking an IP3 on her last turn, which tells me that she just can't use her hand very well. And so I don't know that we need to really commit a lot of resources to making sure we can send that Frostfang, when we could instead just sustain, wait until we draw into a hand like this where we get to attack with Felling, and Vynnset just doesn't get to do anything. So here, another situation where we can just sustain. This is another Tear Through the Breach. We can pitch a blue, we cannot pitch a blue to prevent arcane damage because Vynnset used her hero ability. So we do have to take one of these rune chants. That means that the Widespread Ruin effect is active, and this ruin does have Go Again. So I do want to block the Widespread Ruin, which means that I can give Winter's Bite and Felling of the Crown with my gauntlets in order to cover the Widespread Ruin physical damage. I can also pitch Plow Under to prevent two of the two arcane that I can prevent. Then I keep Fruits of the Forest, and my turn is just pitch Fruits, play Frostfang. Alternatively, I could pitch Fruits, attack with Titan's Fist, but I do want to be at least a little disruptive. At the same time, Vynnset, again, not starting with any rune chants, not starting with any blood debt attack, any rune gate attacks in Banish. It's just playing 4 cards off the top of her deck. So maybe we do just want to send Fruits and wait until we pull a Pummel to send with a Frostfang. Our Tunic will be available on our next turn. And so we can just wait until we draw the Pummel or wait until we draw another Count Your Blessings here, because this was a custom game between Nico and myself. We had some friends that wanted to watch the game, and so sharing the spectator link. But overall, I do want to Arcane Barrier, these 2 rune chants, pitching Plow Under. I do want to block the Widespread Ruin with Felling and Winter's Bite and Gauntlets. And then on my turn, I want to use Fruits to play Frostfang. This line seems very bad to me. Curious to see what I'm going to do with the Undo here, taking all of the rune chants. Let's see, am I going to cover the Widespread Ruin with... No, I don't like this line. I really do not like this line. Trading Stalagmite for Tunic seems okay, considering that I'm going to play a Winter's Bite, which is going to get something from Vynnset. She cannot use the Tunic to pay for the Winter's Bite. My turn then is going to be Felling into Winter's Bite into Felling with Decompose. Unfortunately, we lose a Pummel off the top, which is really bad for us. Losing the Crumble was fine. Losing the Pummel is terrible. So here we get a card out of Vynnset, we'll Felling. Unfortunately, the Felling is only attacking for 4 rather than 8. But Vynnset will have to play with 2 cards. She does have 1 point of 1 Rune Gate attack in Banish thanks to the Widespread Ruin. But as of now, she does not have a Rune Chant, so she will not be able to play the Deathly Wail on her next turn. We will see if she has something like a Blood Moon, or would have been able to reduce to Rune Chant the Felling of the Crown there. Vynnset just banishing an Eloquent Eulogy, throwing down a Malefic Incantation. We are still in a position where we can't really disrupt that much, because if we draw a Pummel, this hand would have been fantastic, but unfortunately we just don't find it. So what I'm probably looking to do instead, well, it's just strange. The problem is that Winter's Bite and Frostfang do not work well together, because if Vynnset pitches a blue to the Winter's Bite, then Frostfang doesn't force her to pay any additional resources or get cards out of her hand. She just has 2 floating resources that she can use to pay for the Frostfang. So what I might want to do here is play the Winter's Bite, get a card out of Vynnset. If it is a red, then I attack with the Frostfang, because I know I'm going to get at least 1 more card. If it was a blue and Vynnset floats 2 resources, we can pitch our Crumble to attack with Titan's Fist for 3, and then pitch Channel Mount Ison to play Count Your Blessings and gain 3 life. It isn't exciting, the fact that we are only Titan's Fisting for 3 rather than 4, but it is at least a way to get a 3-card 6, which again is bad, but is at least something. And I don't really see what else we're doing with this hand. We can Frostfang here, pitching the Crumble like this. We will then pitch Channel Mount Ison to play Count Your Blessings and Arsenal Frostfang. Arsenal Count Your Blessings. But overall, we aren't doing very much. We aren't asking very many questions of Vynnset, and we haven't been playing the Count Your Blessings. We've pitched one. We'll be playing this one, but we really need to start racking up this life total, and Vynnset has just had banger turn after banger turn. Being able to chain so many Tear Through the Breaches together has been really strong for Vynnset. I have been pretty cavalier in not preventing the arcane damage or blocking the physical damage, and because we have Count Your Blessings, and because our deck doesn't force us to banish cards from our hand every turn, I can play much more defensively against Vynnset and just let her run out of steam. And I think that's what I really need to be doing. Now, the hand that we draw into is absolutely atrocious, and what's really bad about this is Vynnset is having an incredible turn with her Shadow Puppetry. So we need to just take this arcane damage, because we can't not take the arcane damage. We have 4 reds, and unfortunately we do need to let these 2 rune chants go through. We can block the Phantom Wraith with our Crown of Providence and bottom Oakenold to try to find a blue. But the problem is, even with a blue, the options for our crackback are pretty limited. We've got this Winterspite in Arsenal, so if we turn Oakenold into a blue, then we can play Felling of the Crown. We can play Winterspite, then play Felling of the Crown. We get 2 cards out of Vynnset. The Felling will attack for 8. Turning a Count Your Blessings into a blue seems much worse to me, because there was no way that we were going to be able to double fuse the Oakenold this turn, which is what I would have really wanted to do. And by turning the Oakenold into a blue, I get to use Tunic and Count Your Blessings to play Count Your Blessings. And now I'm in a weird position where I guess I use Oakenold Tunic to play Count Your Blessings. It just seems worse to me. At least by bottoming Oakenold and drawing a blue, I would have had the opportunity to play 2 Count Your Blessings, which would have been kind of cool. Here's a situation where we see that using our Stalagmite early put us into a very bad spot, where we do just take damage from the Eloquent Eulogy. If we had had Stalagmite here, then Vynnset would not have been able to attack with the Eulogy. So really regretting using it on that Widespread Ruin turn, there, where Widespread did not have Go Again, and the Stalagmite was kind of just covering vanilla damage. What we'll do here is open with Winterspite, get a card out of Vynnset. We can use our Tunic and Oakenold to play Count Your Blessings, and then play Felling of the Crown. There's a line where we play Felling and bottom Oakenold and Arsenal Count Your Blessings, but that seems much worse than just playing it here and getting our Tunic value. So we are going to gain 4 life. We get to decompose. Unfortunately, we only have 1 Earth card in our graveyard after Felling goes to the graveyard, so we may have to block with our Gauntlets just to get another Earth card into discard for Decompose. Vynnset takes some damage. We draw into a hand that unfortunately doesn't function very well. Our best line here is probably E-Strike, Go Again, bottoming Channel Mount Ison, attacking with Hammer, pitching Frozen to Death, and then we can Arsenal Imposing Visage. We could pitch Frozen to Death and Channel Mount Ison to play Imposing Visage and find Channeling Frigid. Frozen to Death helps us keep that around, and then we Arsenal E-Strike, and we are hoping that Vynnset just kind of stalls out. Tunic will not function under Channeling Frigid because she goes resource neutral, but she does have this Eloquence token, so depending on whatever's in her hand, she could just set up, play another Read the Runes, give it go again, play Malefic Incantation, pass, takes 1 point of damage from Blood Debt, but overall, channeling Frigid isn't significantly slowing her down. The real problem here is we can't threaten lethal in any way. E-Strike, go again, Titan's Fist is just 9, and Vynnset still has equipment. We could play Frozen to Death, pitching Imposing Visage, fusing with Channel Mount Ison to destroy Grasp, giving Vynnset a Frostbite, and taking away her Grasp, but she doesn't need Grasp to win this game. We aren't doing anything significant with that. Our best line here is probably just Channel Lake. Try to slow the game down, try to prevent Vynnset from putting anything together, arsenal the E-Strike, and then be able to hopefully put E-Strike, go again, big attack together on our next turn. I think that's better than sending 9 and arsenaling this Imposing Visage, which kind of doesn't do very much. The Imposing Visage just finds Crumble to Eternity. We put a -1 counter on Crown of Providence, I guess. Or we arsenal it, maybe on our next turn we can pitch 2 blues and find Channel Lake Frigid, and then hopefully have something else to do with the cards in our hand. Overall, we just have very bad options here. We are not finding the disruption that we need to really slow Vynnset down, or at least if we have found disruption this game, then Vynnset has had other options with what to do with her turn. So I think Channeling Frigid here is the best of our bad options, just noting that this hand doesn't do anything good. So we've got an Oakenold here that we will be able to double fuse. Unfortunately, we will not get to keep our Channeling Frigid around, so hopefully it's worth it this turn. Hopefully we are preventing Vynnset from doing something reasonable, but yeah, overall, we're in kind of a rough spot this game. We have another line where we just play Winter's Bite, and then E-Strike, go again, Oakenold for 7. That does present lethal damage, but overall is not incredible. Do I want to take 9 here in order to send double fused Oakenold? I think the answer is no. Right now, Vynnset is sitting on 5 points of armor, and we haven't seen a reduced to rune chant out of her yet. Could potentially be in her arsenal, in which case she doesn't even need to use 9 points of armor. I think using 9 here, or taking 9 here to send double fused Oakenold is the wrong call. I would like to use my So Tomorrow to prevent 3 of this, take 7 overall, and then just send 12 with E-Strike, go again, Oakenold for 7. I think that is the better line. Not only does it present more damage, but it preserves our life total. And if we play the Winter's Bite here, we still have Channel Lake Frigid, so Vynnset can't use Tunic to pay for it. We do get a whole card out of her hand. If we were to play it here, again, I think we would not do that. I think we would E-Strike for 5, go again, Oakenold for 7, and just make Vynnset do something with that information. But Oakenold would dominate here, potentially asking a difficult question. The big problem with doing this is that Reduced to Rune Chant cheats the Channel Lake Frigid tax, because cost increases always go through before cost decreases. So Channel Lake Frigid says Reduced to Rune Chant costs 1 or costs 2. Sorry, none of this matters because Vynnset only has 1 Rune Chant. So here we are going to see Reduced to Rune Chant come through. Vynnset does need to pay for this. She only needs to pay 1, however, because she has a Rune Chant. That is going to let her make 2 Rune Chants. So yes, we free up an equipment slot because she used the headpiece, but now we're taking a bunch of damage. And we're still below Vynnset on life total. We have no way to threaten lethal on our next turn. So we are in a rough spot here. The best way to address this situation may just be to block for 5 using Channel Mount Ison and So Tomorrow. I suppose what I'm looking to do, if I take the 2, is play Winter's Bite, give Vynnset a Frostbite. She can use Tunic to pay for the Winter's Bite if she wanted to, and then we E-Strike for 7. Again, does not present lethal, and that's why I feel like the last turn was played so poorly. Yes, Vynnset had the reduce, and if she didn't, then we would have been pretty far ahead. But if she does have the reduce, and she did, then we weren't even presenting lethal. And that's kind of the spot that we're in now, is we are not able to present lethal damage. And we really need to be doing that. We need to force Vynnset to address what we are doing in some way. And depending on what we draw, we're at 5 life at an effective 7 based on having armor. But we can't just take damage anymore. Now we need to block. We are on the back foot. We need to respond to what Vynnset is doing. We can't just keep a 4-card hand that lets us CNC pummel. For example, we can't keep a hand that double fuses Oakenold, because now we are being threatened by 11 points of damage again. And so we can prevent some of this. We'll take 1 point of arcane damage. We'll use our Tunic to pay for this. We can use our Frozen to Death to block 4/3. And we'll put equipment. I would have liked to put equipment in front of this as well. Yes, we would have gone lower on life, but we send the Command and Conquer, which still is not threatening lethal, but at least forces Vynnset to do something. This Titan's Fist just comes in for 4. This is not lethal. We're not threatening Vynnset's arsenal. Vynnset doesn't care about Titan's Fist for 4. If she has another Tear Through the Breach, she just takes 4, goes to 4, and then kills us with 2 Runegate attacks. If she can find the way to make that many rune chants. I mean, yes, she has no rune chants, so maybe she can't convert a hand. But if she can't convert a hand, she just puts 6 block in front of the Titan's Fist and proceeds to play out 1 Runegate attack. But here we see her just putting armor in front, keeping 5 cards, and we'll see what she can do with those 5 cards. But she has Tunic, she has Spellbound Creepers. We've got a Deathly Wail coming in. This is hard casted. We can prevent 1 point of damage with Arcane Barrier. We can use Counter Blessings to gain life out of kill range, but here we have Vynnset potentially doing Creepers shenanigans. As I recall, this is a fairly complicated line, so we may have to undo a bit. Just knowing that we are intending to prevent 1 point of damage, we are intending to play Counter Blessings, and then we are looking to Felling of the Ground. So here we have the sequencing needs to be different in order for Vynnset to play a non-attack action, in order for Revel and Runeblood to actually generate rune chants, which I believe we still haven't done here. I'm blanking on what Nico's line is going to be, but in some way this does function. So we're looking to send that Felling, again, keeping in mind that Felling does present lethal, so it is going to get cards out of Vynnset, but it only gets 1 because Vynnset can use armor in order to cover up the overkill. See what we have coming now. Is this line going to be different? Play out our Count Your Blessings. And there's the Succumb to Temptation, which is really going to screw with what we are doing, because we aren't fully blocking out this Deathly Wail, which means that Vynnset can just take our Channel Lake Frigid. We get to keep our Felling, we can put it into Arsenal, maybe Vynnset bricks on her next turn, and we actually get to play the Felling. But here we're just passing the turn, and we have no more armor left. And in fact, we are just actually dead. So, not even a particularly close game if we're just looking at life totals. And watching it back now, I do think that my biggest issue was not playing defensive in the early game when I could afford to, when I was not actually throwing Pommel on top of Command and Conquers or Frostfangs. The things that I was keeping cards to do were not worth keeping those cards. I could have just sustained through Vynnset's big tear through the breach turns until she ran out of steam and I got to start presenting disruption and damage of my own. And then once Vynnset did slow down, I was not maximizing my damage and I wasn't maximizing my counter blessings. Now, we had a 4-red hand that really screwed with our tempo, really ruined our ability to do anything. We lost a lot of momentum coming out of that 4-red hand. But even so, we put ourselves into a bad position before that, where had we sustained and maybe kept 5 or even 10 life because we were playing defensive, suddenly that 4-red hand doesn't screw with us as much because we have the life to give. Or suddenly this last turn, where Succumb to Temptation ruins our ability to fire back with a Felling of the Crown, or even take damage from the Revel in Runeblood Phantom Wraith, says that we just die because we didn't prevent damage earlier in the game. We didn't pummel anything. We lost a pummel to a widespread ruin, so I'm not saying that variance was working with us here. We did lose some good disruption, and we drew our deck in a bit of the wrong order, seeing all of our Command and Conquers before any pummels. But for the most part, I do think that I was not defensive, considering that my win condition with 6 counter blessings in the deck can just be survive. Vynnset is going to run out of steam, and not only that, she's going to run out of cards because her deck banishes itself, and our deck does not. So I definitely could have played more defensive, could have played to those counter blessings, could have played to finding disruption, and I just didn't. And so that's a good lesson learned. Like I said, there are more games from this series of matches available on Patreon if you want to head over there, pick it up for yourself, and see how we can turn these counter blessings games into wins. But I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something. If so, be sure to pummel that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's free. It helps me out a lot. I have a Patreon, a Blue Sky, and a Discord, all of which can be found in the video description below. I have updated my personal Jarl list. I will have the new deck update video releasing tomorrow, and then later this week we will be talking Syndra, because we will have several more spoilers, and then Friday is when we start the entire set reveal, so look forward to that. Until the next time I see you on Daily FaB Gameplay, stay frosty.